Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the podcast mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Welcome back to another inspiring episode of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better, the podcast mogul. And today we have a guest who's a true master at the art of branding with decades of experience that have impacted both global companies and individual entrepreneurs alike. Our guest is known as the voice of impact-driven branding with an impressive close to 5 decades career in defining and launching brands. He has now dedicated his expertise to serving heart-centered entrepreneurs and professionals. At his company, Rich Brands, he helps individuals elevate their unique gifts, ensuring that their brands are built on a foundation of clarity, longevity, and divine purpose. His deep commitment to listening and truly understanding the essence of people he works with sets our guest apart. He's not only just about creating a brand, he's about helping individuals make the most significant impact on the world with the gifts that they have been given. His approach is straightforward, trustworthy, and rooted in profound experience. Today, he guides mentors and others through the 7 steps of impact-driven branding, helping them gain the clarity they need to make lasting impacts and become the brand they aspire to be. Whether you're looking to find your brand, write a book, or simply make a bigger impact, the wisdom that he shares is invaluable. So get ready to take your brand to the next level and make a lasting impact with this episode of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast with our guest, Rich Kozak. Rich, thank you so much for being here. I don't know if my intro was as good as the videos you showed me before we started, but it hyped me up to another level, brother.
I am so glad to be here, and you're listening to this right now and you think, oh no, this is one of those things about branding. It's not. It's about you. If you're a solopreneur, if you're a one person, if you own a company, if you have a desire to make impacts on other people's lives through the work or the gift or the products or the service or the whatever you do, and you just don't know really what branding is and how to take yourself to another level, and you want straight talk, you can trust and deep experience you can count on, you are in the right place. Phil Better, thanks for having me.
Oh, Rich, I am excited. Like, I'm just like blown away. The 2 videos you showed me were like hyping me up. And then before we even started recording, you were giving me gold and I had to stop you because I was like, Rich, you're giving away the house before we even started talking about what the numbers are. So I'm going to start this really quickly because I want to know, why did you become an entrepreneur? I know watching your video, I kind of figured it out myself, but my audience didn't get a chance to watch those videos. So why, Rich, did you decide to leave the corporate world and all that big money to become an entrepreneur, which without the security that corporations bring?
Well, okay. So there are 2 times in my life that I just chose to be an entrepreneur. One, I was 13, and the other, I was 50. Okay, so let's take them one at a time. At 13, let's go back to the beginning. I told my dad, I want to make money. And he goes, you're 13. This is Pennsylvania. You'd have to get a work permit. You have to wait till you're 16. You can't. Hey, paint my house. I'll tell you what, if you learn how to paint my house, I can talk to other professors. He was a professor at Penn State. And maybe they'll have you paint your house too. Because he knew I was kind of like, kind of mover shaker kind of guy. But so he goes, I'll buy all the stuff. So he just go down to the paint store and ask a lot of questions because there was no internet. We're talking about, okay.
Yeah, it was a little bit before the internet was.
Yeah. We bought the ladders, bought the paint, bought the brush, and I don't know whether we flipped a coin, but we did another guy's house first, which is a good thing because the second one is always better when you're a rookie, right? Anyway, so when I realized that at 13 and then 14 and all my summers, because I was a busy student, but in summers, I could literally go to somebody's house, figure out how much time it would take me to do that, and even go hire other people and say, hey, I'll pay you $5 an hour. And they go, whoa, $5 an hour, but I'm charging 20 an hour. And it's like, are you okay? So there you go. And then it was a painting company. It was I booked bands and fraternities. I just keep, I didn't choose to be I chose to be an entrepreneur because Dad said, here you go. But I guess I just got, and I'm creating business cards and names. And like I was creating brands like from right away.
From a young age.
50, fast forward, degree in marketing, international business, played in a rock band, got back to school, went to Fortune 50, worked for a Fortune 50 company under a mentor manager who made sure I understood how to walk through the chairs. And, so I was immersed. I went from rock band to Fortune 50. That was crazy. I didn't see myself fitting. So I after 7 years, I kind of had to bring it to a close. But by that time I had volunteered my way to be the president of the American Marketing Association in Southern California. And then I got elected to the national board of directors of the American Marketing Association. Remarkable. And somebody who met me there said, "Hey, I lost somebody in my agency. I need an executive vice president. I think you're perfect. My wife thinks you're perfect. How would you come over?" And I'm like, I don't know. Advertising is the one thing. He goes, "No, you don't know. You don't know what you're talking about. Come on over it was business to business." And so I served as an executive vice president of business agency for 17 and a half years. We had partners in 21 countries. I'm a certified global branding consultant. I was addicted to that job. I loved it. To be able to teach the C-suite people at big companies. $14 billion was the largest company that was a client of mine. And that branding is a process. It's steps. Gentlemen, you know that how you build the pipeline through the jungle? Mm-hmm. Branding is the same thing. Steps. And they're like, "What? We thought it was like airy-fairy bullshit, Sorry. Bleep.
That's fine. That's fine. You're safe.
Okay, great. But it's teaching them that it's steps. And I mean, I've been teaching the steps of branding done right. Certain things need to be in place. Certain things need to be created. And so if you're listening to this right now, and I realize, I haven't lost sight of the question, why did you choose to be an entrepreneur? And we haven't gotten to 50 yet. I'm going to answer the question later. What is a brand? So that you will always be clear on it. And I'll do it in 1 minute, and you'll never be confused or intimidated by what a brand is and what branding is and what marketing is and what's the difference. We'll do it in 1 minute. And I'm going to do that after I answer the question, why did I become an entrepreneur? Why did I leave corporate and begin? I was doing all-nighters. I was so addicted to my job. I literally was doing all-nighters at 50 years old. I mean, you can picture this. Our agency was on the 9th floor at the end of Wilshire Boulevard in Santa Monica, California. My office looked right up the Malibu coast at that beautiful curvilinear coast with palm trees. Oh my God, our partners in Europe came for when we hosted the partners, and they're like, "Oh, sacre bleu, why do you close the blinds?" And I'm like, "It's the freaking sunlight." And oh, yeah. So, I mean, it was like 2:13 in the morning. I had to get out of there to make it home in time to shave, change, shower, and make it to that boardroom for my $14 billion company at 9:00 in the morning at the other end of the world of Los Angeles, and I'm shaving, and all of a sudden I say to myself, you're killing yourself here. And I decided I was going to change my prayer. Lord, I'm going to resign this addictive career to reshape my life. Show me what you want me to do. I'm ready. That was June. By August, the owner of the agency and I, who were dear friends, had agreed I would leave. And I started doing things on my own, some marketing communications and stuff, but I literally just said, I don't do branding anymore. But individuals in my networks, because I've been networking forever. And if you don't start, make sure you start. If you want to network, okay, meet as many people as you can. It's a blessing. Life is a team sport. We're not meant to do this alone. And people would come up to me and say, I want you to help me with my individual brand. I have this vision. a medical multimodality medical facility on a hill owned by people in this city, and then, you know, bringing value to people's lives. Or, you know, we're integrating software to help distributors become or manufacturers or distributors become the first intelligent enterprise where all the software is connect in their industry and shift the nature of competition. Oh, you know, we have this uniform and we want to shift the nature of safety for people who have to work in dark places because they get killed and they, you know, things happen. And, you know, these people start finding me and I realize. So I chose to be an entrepreneur when I was 50 because I figured I wasn't really here to do all-nighters and to bring on a heart attack and to die with I've been married 47 years and 52 Valentine's Days. I have 2 young sons at the time. I wasn't meant to take myself out. I decided to reshape my life and pay attention to why I am here. And we're all here for a reason. We're all created by the same creator, and there's a reason we're here. And the sooner we focus on what gifts we've been given, because we all get to make the most significant contribution we can to those whose lives we touch. So that's what was part of my choosing to become an entrepreneur the second time. And I had created a financial cushion. Most people don't have that blessing. I had created a financial cushion. Unfortunately, I burned through it in real estate, and 2008 was a killer.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I
don't think I want to tell that story, but I have I tread through this financial swamp story late in my life. You know, adversity is not meant to take us out. It's the way we respond to adversity that defines our character. I love you too. Okay. Anyway, I have to say that to my sons. Like, I know Dad looks a little stressed. Okay. But look, you know, life is adversity. Life is ups and downs. Life is swamps. Life is, you know, problems. But it's how we respond to it. And when we're people of faith and we're asking, why am I here? What is your will for my life? When we're asking that question, we're way closer to the impacts that we get to make. So today, having made that decision to become an entrepreneur and realizing after I helped some individuals that by helping individuals, and I'm talking to you listening right now, when you reach into your heart and say, hey, what impacts do I clearly see making on others through my work, my gift that excite me? And I can clearly see it. And I know I'm going to make them. And what does that look like when I'm making them? You can define the brand you must become to make those impacts. And everything your brand says and does aligns, and you make your impacts faster. You get to the money faster. And you build a platform from which it's easier to step from what you do and your work, which is your vehicle. Our jobs aren't necessarily why we're here, onto a platform that takes you to why you are here. It just makes it easier. So that's what I get to do now as an entrepreneur. And I feel that, you know, I didn't say like, oh man, I have a podcast today. I don't have to do anything. I get to do it. It's like, I want you to hear that. I want you to know what branding is so you're not all frustrated and confused. So Phil, I'm going to ask your special permission. Can I just define branding and marketing in, I'm going to do 2 minutes because I'm going to do all 3. So that we have that foundation and people will never be able to forget this. Ready?
Rich, I'll make it even easier for you. Rich, can you tell me what is the definition, the ideal behind branding, marketing, and all those things that you guys do? Because I want to know from the legend's mouth himself, what is it?
Phil, I'm so glad you asked me that question. Okay. Yeah. Number 1. Okay. And I want you to, I'm talking to you listening. Write this down.
I'm writing it down, Rich. I'm writing it down.
Your brand. Okay, not a brand. We're not going to talk about branding. Your brand is a perception. Write that down. But it's not your perception. Write that down. A brand is a perception, but it's not your perception. You can talk all day long about your brand. Well, it doesn't matter. It's the perception in the mind. Your brand is the perception in the mind of those individuals that you most care to impact. It's their perception that is your brand. Your job, branding, is shaping a consistent perception in the mind of those whom you most want to impact, that enables you to move forward in the direction that you feel compelled and desire to go, enjoy, and love. And this is what I wish for you. I hope you're doing something in joy and in love. And if you're not, you get to rethink it. Okay. So let's summarize. A brand is a perception, but it's not your perception. It's the perception in the mind of those individuals, those types of people, those industries, those whatever that you most want to impact, and you really want to. And so branding is shaping a consistent perception in their minds that moves you in the direction you really want to go in love and joy. This is not your normal branding discussion, people.
No, I love it. I'm like, Rich, I'm going to tell you, I do a transcript after this, and I usually tell all my guests I'm really excited to read. I'm just really excited to read this last 2 minutes you just talked about, because I know it's worth $1 billion right there.
It will save you so much hassle. You won't be intimidated, confused. The reason people don't know what branding really is because thousands and thousands of marketing service sellers, people that want to sell you things that are in the marketing realm, emails, systems, and AI things, and coaching. They want to sell you stuff, and they're saying, "Oh, this will be good for your brand." If you lit them on fire and made them tell you what are the 4 things that a brand must have to come alive and not fall flat, they wouldn't be able to tell you. They'd be charcoal. Just saying. Most people are not teaching branding. They're just using the word, and that's why people get confused. And they'll say things like, well, we got a good brand. We have a logo, and, I think we do. Don't you think we do? It's not, they don't know. And, brands are not a logo or a tagline or a tricky phrase, or that's not a brand. A brand is the perception, and your target audience is mind. And so since that's the case, listen tight and write these down. Number 1, here are the 4 things you need. And I'm not kidding. I'm going to do this right now. I don't usually do this, but I'm going to do because everybody's in a writing meeting. Number 1, congruence with your heart. Don't you dare make what you do incongruent with how you are, the way you were raised, the values you have, just because it's like, oh, this will make some money, or like whatever. It's got to be congruent with your heart. If not, you see, we're all here for a reason. If you're doing something that's incongruent with your heart, what are you doing? You need to ask one more time, like, what's your will for my life? Okay. Number 2, consistent language. Actually, consistency across the board. We'll talk about language in a second. Consistency across the board. You can't say it one way here and then say it another way. That you can't look this way and then that way. You can't mix it up. You can't, if you're not consistent. Look, if you were going to hire somebody and you were testing them, and one day they did the job one way, and you're like, that's pretty good. And the next day they did it another way, and you're like, I don't know. And next day they did it another way, and they did it another way, and you don't know what to expect. It freaks you out. Do you trust them? No. Brands are like that. If a brand is not consistent across the board in how it shows up, in how it speaks, in the visuals it shares, in the messaging hierarchy that it speaks, if it's not consistent across the board, it breaks trust. Number 3, unique language that transfers energy. There's two things there on number 3. Unique language, words that only you use, sometimes contrived phrases. The woman speaking at the Next Level Body Conference in December is an expert at body intelligent yoga. Oh my God. I've been doing yoga for 10 years at home. It's like body intel. I don't know what is that? I want that. Yeah. 3 words. It's an intangible brand promise baked in to an explanation of what makes her unique. Unique language that transfers energy. So I can use unique language. Oh, Rich, you've been doing this for 47 years. So what do you do exactly as a branding? So if I said, well, in unique language, I masterfully manage the 31-step continuum of the branding. It's like you're going to be asleep. You're going to be going, oh my God, this guy, no energy. But if I say, well, we do a lot of things, but people say we put rocket fuel in their branding gas tank. What does that even mean? The point is, words have energy. And when specific words, unique words sometimes, are put together in ways, you not only get credit for what makes you outstanding, but you stand apart in a way that nobody speaks like that, nobody looks like that, nobody is like that. And it's consistent across the board. And that's feeling pretty good for your brand. Okay, there's number 4 is ongoing, positive, ongoing recognizability. I had to say positive first because recognizability is one thing. It's like, oh, there's that stupid ad again. Not positive. Okay. You don't want that to be your, because you know who I'm talking about. You turn on the TV and oh my, there's that. Oh no. Okay. You want to go, oh yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. Check this ad out. It's like positive, ongoing recognizability. The first time they see it, it's positive. Second time they see it, yeah, it reinforces. And that includes the visual. It also includes the audio brand. A person's voice, your voice, I'm talking to you, is a part of your brand or can be. So those are 4 things. I mean, and and those are 4 things you have to have. The good news is bake them into your brand and your brand will come alive. It will attract. Don't have them and you'll fall flat. Most brands fall flat. Fall flat is you can go to a networking group and you say to somebody and they say, oh, what do you do? And you say, and they go, oh, that's nice. That's fall flat. Come alive is their head tilts on the side and they go, well, really? Oh, wow. I got to go, but can I have your card? That's not fall flat. Right. It's like,
that's energized. They're happy. They want to know. They want more.
Exactly. It's the energy transfer. And isn't everything, haven't we learned in our lives to some extent, everything is energy. Mm-hmm. And when the energy of what you do and how you feel about it and how you sit up straight in your chair or talk about it, make it come alive to people and they can feel it or not. We do at the end of brand development, message hierarchy is the final step. Even in our 7 days over 3 months, brand accelerator mastery, which is a phenomenal way to get it all done. Have titles and subtitles of content that you can use for 4 years to launch it. We do 7 messages in a hierarchy. The first message overcomes the number 1 barrier that won't let the brand in unless you overcome it. And the others get credit for certain things that you must get credit for to make your impacts. Why wouldn't you do it that way? Those are statements made with gravitas, with knowingness. When your brand speaks with knowingness, with gravitas about what it does, people feel it. They feel it. They feel the energy.
I can feel the energy coming off you, Rich, and the knowledge you have about branding and just creating heart-driven brands, which I can tell that that's your passion. Like I can see the fire in your eyes when you're talking about branding. A lot of people have said I have fire when I'm talking about podcasting because that's my passion. I love podcasting because it's the next level networking tool, if you will, or even branding tool, if you will. But I just love it because I get to talk with amazing entrepreneurs like you, and my eyes light up when and I can see the same amount of passion that you have for branding. And I've never had so many notes this early in an episode, to tell you the truth, Rich, and I'm loving it. I do have a question because I don't want you to take up all this and give it a branding lesson because I want people to come to you, and we'll talk about how they can get to you at the end. But I don't know, what do you do to keep yourself investing in yourself to become this impact-driven entrepreneur, this man who helps everybody that he sees by just being so open with your information? What do you do to invest in yourself?
I have been a proponent since my earliest coaches said, from all the way back, Jim Rohn and, Earl Nightingale back in the day, right, to Harv Eker, to, all these people Richard Green and people whose rooms I've been in, they talk about investing in yourself. I'm certified in I'm a certified trainer of neurolinguistics programming, but I don't train. I studied NLP to be a better listener and to understand people by watching them. NLP is phenomenal. And timeline therapy, I actually have used that to help some clients. But I became a proponent of reinvesting in myself by continuing learning about things I don't know. Even today, there are, I put myself on a lot of lists because I have clients in all different kinds of industries. I mean, literally is soft industry experts, authors, people of strong faith, people that are like integrated software, people that run DEI programs in major law firms. It's like it's really across the board. Financial advisors who want to create a unique identity and brand for themselves and get credit for the way they do it, and touch people's lives because that's what they're all about. So I'm on a lot of lists, and when I see something, I have this insatiable curiosity. I guess maybe, it's a blessing or a curse. I think it's a blessing. Take, for example, I was on a phone with a coach, and he said, Peter Diamandis, right? And I'm like, and this was 10 years ago. I'm like, no. He goes, oh my gosh. He wrote he wrote the book Abundance. It was a New York Times, and then he wrote Longevity. And I'm like, whoa! And I'm writing these down. I get these books. I start reading the book Abundance, and it talks about the geometric growth in certain areas, certain industries, certain technologies. Geometric growth, things that the human mind can't fathom because we're linear. And yet he's put this into a book to paint a picture of what is possible, solving problems that we would typically say, that's impossible. We can't solve that. He creates a university called Singularity University where he brings really, really intelligent people to put together things to solve problems that everybody else says is impossible. And they put things together and they solve problems. It's like, there's so much we don't know, Phil. And remember my prayer, Lord, I'm resigning my addictive career to reshape my life. Show me what you want me to do. I'm ready. That was my prayer for 6 months before I left the agency. Show me. I am still in show me mode.
Really?
So when something God's hand is everywhere. When something comes into my life and I think, maybe I'm supposed to learn about that. Maybe I'm supposed to see that. Anything from Peter's book to a lady who came over here with a client of mine, and she took a tour through our lower garden, and she comes back and she goes, you have fairies in your trees. Now, the the old agency guy could have, had a field day with that one using sarcasm. But I said, I'm thinking maybe I'm supposed to hear this because I don't see fairies and she seems to. So I said, how do you know? And she looks at me and she goes, because I saw them. Like, or,
Like it's every day.
yeah. And she has since a child. And there's so much we don't know. And so keep an open mind and listen to both sides of an argument. Don't get stuck on one side of an aisle. Okay. I'm not going there, but you know what I'm talking about. It's like, it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve the world. It doesn't serve those whose lives you'll touch. So, stay open and keep learning. There's so much more to know, and continue having mentors. We're made to be mentored. We're also made to be mentors, and it can happen simultaneously. You can be sharing with someone that doesn't have your experience, like I'm sharing with you listening today, but at the same time, someone's going to be sharing with me, and I'm going to be listening to them going, whoa, that really leads me to think differently, okay, or to behave differently. So I've been around a long time, right? Decades. So literally I was coming up to a big birthday, and we won't talk about what number it was, but I hired a beast mode coach to put me in my best shape for this big number birthday. Okay. Literally, I was launching Rich Brands at the Best You Expo in Los Angeles in 2023, March. And I was at a cocktail party in Beverly Hills at the Hilton weeks before it, that the fellow who ran the thing said, we're going to have a meet and greet. He's British. And I'm over there, and there's this, I'm over there networking, I'm meeting people because that's what I do. And here's this guy I see, good looking fellow, 45 maybe, in a dusty rose suit. And it wasn't pink. That would have been West LA. This was Beverly Hills. It was Dusty Rose. Okay. So he was in his masculinity. He was tapered. He looked great. And I went up to him and I said, dude, I mean, give the old Bill Clinton finger, I'm like, I'm not a Bill Clinton fan, but he did that all the time. But dude, I don't know who you are or what you do, but you have the body that my wife wishes I had. That's what I said to him. And he looked at me and he goes, I can help you with that. He's a transformational trainer, beast mode coach, and I hired him. And anyway, so look, we can always grow. We can always get healthier. God made our bodies, as long as we give them exactly what they need, they heal themselves. Whoa. Okay. There's so much we can do to keep growing. I want you to step into doing what you do every day in love, not in duty, in joy, not in, administration. It's like, that's what I want. So that's why today at Rich Brands, we're evolving personal and business, individuals, personal or business brands or both, with the clarity that's missing, because you've got to get clarity to get to the higher level. And I promised you that I would mention that. So I'm going to come back to that thought in a second. We're evolving brands with deep clarity that's missing, energetic longevity, so that you can do for more decades in love what really brings you joy, and divine purpose. That's not your normal branding talk, but it's real. And you get to do it. Why wouldn't you? So here's what I said I'd come back to. And this one's going to shake you up a little bit. I do a 60-minute free masterclass called Turning a Life of Impacts into a Story of Legacy. Question mark? Like you think you want to create a legacy, write a signature book, legacy book, a signature speech, take it to make higher level impacts than you have been making for the last 20 years or whatever. You think you're going to do that? The name of the registration is brandfirstorDie.com. Brand first or die. Well, brutal. That sounds so like edgy and stupid. But listen, here's the point. A brand is a perception. You already know that. In order to make your highest level impacts that are beyond what you've made so far, and you know there's more, and there are a lot of people like that. I mean, if you're early in your career, I warn you, you'll get there. A lot of people are not early in their career, and they're like, I know there's more, but I don't know how to take it to the next level. In order to take it to the next level, you must evolve the perception. You must evolve the brand so that your target audience perceives you're capable of it. You want to take it to another level? Evolve that brand first or die. Your attempts will fall flat. You won't get credit for being able to do those. It's like you must evolve the perception. Or they'll perceive you the way they have always perceived you. You know the drill. I mean, you go home. It's like Jesus, said in, a prophet's just a guy in his hometown. It's like, it's not a direct quote, but anyway, but yeah. So it's a new thought to people, but my most heartfelt target audience, and I have 3, but my most heartfelt target audience are those people that haven't written that legacy book. I have a publishing company, Impact Driven Publishing. Hello, hopefully that means something to you. To help people conceive that book as a stake in the ground to move their brand in the direction it gets to go. It's often more than one. Sometimes it's a podcast to define it, and a book and something. It's like there are stakes in the ground that the brand gets to create, and they're consistent, congruent, transfer energy with unique language and positive ongoing recognizability. To bake all 4 of those things into the evolved brand to free people to make their highest level impacts in the decades they have left. Welcome to Rich Brands, Phil. You might be on mute. I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, yeah, I was on mute.
So welcome to Rich Brands, Phil. I think is where we were.
Yes, I want my audience to understand that I've been sitting here slack jaw. My jaw is hit the floor listening to Rich talk about what it is for branding, because you're taking branding from what people perceive it as. Oh, it's just part of marketing. It's just like, oh, it's just your logo and this, but more. It's like you're making it rich, and I know I'm using your name Rich a lot more here, but it is making it rich. Give me 1 second. There we go. You when your office is in the suburbs, you have to deal with drive-bys of trucks, but you're defining something that in a more deeper way than I've ever heard it defined before. And I know my audience is going to take so much for it. Just those 4 little key points on branding that you provided earlier in the episode and that you reiterated just before, that is worth $1,000 for this episode. Like, this episode I should be charging for because of how much value you're dropping. And Rich, I'm disappointed that we're coming to the end of the episode, because it annoys me, because You were providing so much value, and I didn't have to do much talking, which again, something I love when it comes to a guest, because you just provide the value off of one question. But we're going to get to the last question here, and then I'm going to have let you tell my audience where they can connect with you, because they need to connect with you. But I want to know, if you had a chance to go back to your 10-year-old self and give them one piece of advice that you wish you were handed to when you were 10, what's that one piece of advice you would love to be able to hand back to a 10-year-old Rich?
Oh, there are two, but the first thing I think of is it took me until I was 55 to literally restart my faith as a new Christian and start asking God for his will in my life, and reading and thinking and praying and meditating about that. I would tell my 10-year-old self, start asking early, why am I here? What is it that I'm here to do? What are these gifts that you've given me? How can I use them to make the world a better place, to touch people's lives? That's number one. The other is speak from your heart, not from your head. We get in trouble when we speak from our head. People, we get nervous and we go to our head and then we say things, and people can tell that we're not comfortable, and it just disserves us. So speak from your heart. Let people know that you care and how much you care. Let people know what's in there, what's you. There's no one like you. So when you personally speak from your heart. When your brand speaks and you own that brand, speak from your heart. It's so different. You're a podcaster and you get all kinds of guests, and you can tell when people are in their head, their PR firm told them to launch the book and they're trying to remember come on. Oh my gosh, I know it. It's so common. By the way, I if I thought you needed it, I would invite you to be on the Impact Brand Doctor podcast, but you don't need it.
Oh, thank you.
But I'd still would have you on there just because it would be a hoot. And then I could listen to you talk. Absolutely. There's so much that we're social beings. We're not meant to go through lives alone. We're not, life is a team sport. We're not meant to do this alone. And so speaking from your heart helps you connect with people. And look, the book I read every morning tells us, we're here for two reasons. One is to share love, love our neighbors of ourselves, love ourselves, right? Love our neighbors of ourselves, and praise God. And everything else is man-made. We don't get those two right. We need to go back to number one and share love. And speaking from our heart is a great way to do that. Cooking is too. It's one of the things we have to do, but we won't get there.
That's another podcast we'll talk about, Rich. The cooking podcast with Rich and Phil. I think that's going to be an amazing podcast. Maybe even a YouTube channel. Rich, I'm going to jump off stage here. I want you to let my audience know where they can connect with you, either for impact-driven publishing or even for Rich Brands. Everywhere they can get onto you. I know earlier you said you lived on Zoom.
I do.
So maybe they can help you fill some of those moments that you don't have filled.
Okay, it may be crazy to tell you Calendly. If you know what Calendly is, you get on my calendar at literally anybody, calendly.com/richbrands. That's it. Calendly.com/richbrands, and you'll be on my calendar. You can go to our website and see the same thing, and also get some free videos that talk about branding, answer branding questions. And that's just richbrands.org, richbrands.org. So those two ways, talk to me. Look, I would love to listen to the impacts you see making, what you're doing, the struggles you have right now. I could probably bring clarity to you within minutes that you've been struggling with for a long, long time, just because I've been doing this for so long, and I would love to. So take advantage of it. People think I should be on a beach or on a yacht. I'm on Zoom. Take advantage of it.
before he decides to go to the yacht or decides to go to the beach.
Seriously.
When his wife finally tells him, "Look, Rich, we the beach is right there. Can we just go to the beach, please?"
Yeah,
So-
she wants to go to the beach.
I bet she wants to go to the beach more than you want to be on Zoom. But Rich,
She's
I wanna-
on the tennis court right now. Bless her heart. Yeah.
so she's having fun. Rich, I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast.
You're welcome.
What you have dropped in the first 10 minutes of the episode was fundamentally life-changing, but this whole episode has been re-education for me and helping me. I don't know about my audience, but I can tell you it's helped me kind of relook at how I'm going to start marketing this not just marketing, brand this podcast into something that is more in line and more in tune with what I want from it. So I want to thank you so much for that, Rich.
Phil, you and anyone listening, your marketing, and literally hear this if you're listening to this, your marketing is at its best when it's executing an excellent branding strategy. Marketing is execution. Branding is substantial. Marketing at its best is the execution of an excellent branding strategy. Don't get it backwards. People get it backwards. They think, oh, we don't have time for branding. We'll do that later.
No, I'm definitely going to be sitting down and not rebranding, improving the branding of this podcast so that I do have that impact. And I'm driven towards what makes me happier.
Evolving. People evolve. Brands evolve. It's okay. Evolving. Yeah.
I love it. Rich, thank you again for spending nearly an hour with me and just downloading so much knowledge into my brain. I thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure. I get to do this. What a gift. What a blessing.
You are so lucky. To my audience, thank you so much for listening. Like Rich said, 2 simple ways of getting in touch with him: Calendly.com/richbrands or richbrands.org. Of course, the show notes will have those links. I thank you again for listening. And as always, remember to invest in yourself.